and welcome to the very latest MTD podcast. Today, we've got a workholding theme, and I'm joined by two industry experts. The first one is the Managing Director of world-renowned Brown Holmes, Kevin Ward. He's apprentice trained, and he actually went to the same college as MTD's very own Giovanni. Speaking of whom, Gio is joining with us as well. And those of you who don't know Gio, 25 years time-served engineer with an expertise in aerospace engineering, as well as our in-house work-holding expert. Welcome to the show, gents.
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
To start with, Kevin, if it's okay with you, Brown Holmes, world-renowned, you sell a lot of third-party products that have got a lot of distinct advantages. But if it's okay, I'd like to start with some bespoke fixtures today. And if we start holistically, why somebody would look for a bespoke fixture where possibly, they could argue standard, traditional, off-the-shelf work holding would do. So maybe if you could just dispel a myth or two.
Depends really on the components that the customer wants to hold, really. Bespoke off-the-shelf work holding has its place. We supply that ourselves, but there is a need for specialist work holding. As I say, depends on the profile, the shape of a component, what it's made out of, what machine it's going on, and ultimately the value that's required out of the production process.
For sure. Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And just for people, maybe we should talk about Brown Holmes, because what one would hope a lot of people are aware of you now, but maybe you can explain the fact that you do sell traditional work holding products, but equally probably a bigger chunk of your business is bespoke fixtures, made to order fixtures.
It is, Joe, you're right. We have grown really quite substantially over the last 10 years, really, on the back of bespoke fixturing. As you quite rightly said, we do standard fixturing, things like tombstones and cube fixtures. But yeah, we've moved more over the years into specialist, hydraulic, automated, fairly complex fixturing, really. But we can do the simple stuff as well.
Yeah, and there must be, I used to work in a business where we made our own fixtures, but when I go around now, I just don't see that skills. I don't see the skill set, and I don't know if that's something you agree with, Gio. In days gone by, maybe you could make your own, whereas now just engineers don't. They do look to lean on companies such as Brown Holmes.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Joe. I think that, from when I'd done my apprenticeship as a tool maker, even from back then, we were making our own work holding fixtures for everything that we did, really. Obviously, we had our standard products like vises and chucks, etc. But whenever we had any complex parts that we couldn't hold using a standard work holding product, we would just simply make a work holding fixture. Today it certainly has changed drastically. And I suppose what we used to do back then is still relevant now to a certain degree for certain components, depending on their complexity. But I mean, it was a real eye-opener for me personally when I first visited Brown Holmes, to see some of the fixtures that they actually manufacture. There was no way in the world that for the companies that I've worked at, we could have manufactured them fixtures, because we simply just didn't have them capabilities to manufacture them. And I think that also we weren't automating back then in the day. Everything was mechanical. So like when Kev mentions it in regards to some of these big aerospace fixtures, which are hydraulically powered, they're like a piece of art, and the repeatability is such a big part of it as well, I would assume, Kev.
Yeah, bang on, Gio. Yeah, I think you're quite right. The complexity of parts, particularly in the aerospace industry, where there's been a lot of change, certainly in the materials that a lot of these parts are being made of, which put extra demands not only on the machine tool but on the work holding as well. And with all respect to the aerospace guys, as many other industries, they need to hit these parts as hard. They need consistent repeatability and dimensional accuracy of these parts in what are often very difficult to hold, very flimsy and very tough materials to machine.
Yeah, so what we're kind of saying here is leave it to the experts, aren't we? You get on selling time, machining your components, and leave the work holding the fixtures to the experts. That's kind of what we're saying, isn't it?
It is. I'd like to agree with that, Joe, definitely. But yeah, there's a place for more simplistic fixtures, and so the advancements in technologies such as 3D printing, people can print smaller fixtures and more simplistic fixtures. But yeah, there's still, we feel, a big demand for complex parts still very accurately. And
Yeah, and just on the parts, you don't need to give us, your client list away. But if you just, let's say your last 10 fixtures, how would they look? Are we talking a little bush for a Hoover up to something for an aeroplane wing and everything in between? What type of components do you tend to look at?
Quite a cross section, really, ranging from automotive engine parts right up to aerospace casing parts. So you can be talking handheld items, components, up to 1.5 meter diameter components. So quite a range within that size spec alone.
Yeah, and like Gia's alluded to, Brown Holmes, you've got so much technology on site. You've got your CNC machines, you've got your pneumatic hydraulic specialists, you've got your designers. You are, the turnkey done in one, or close. What's the word? A closed shop, single shop. You do it all yourself, don't you?
Yeah, we do. We've tried to mature the company over the last few years to try to be the one-stop solution company for people to come to, and not only design and manufacture the solutions for competent work holding, but help our customers through component runoff trials, offering programming support on site, customers' facilities. So yeah, really take away the problems from our customers and give them the full solution.
Yeah, for sure. And Gio, if I come to you, you've got an illustrious career selling work holding. I don't know if you ever got involved in bespoke stuff, but you must have walked into a building from time to time and just thought, I can't hold that. That needs a bespoke fixture.
Yeah, lots of times, Joe, that was the case. And there were certain solutions that I couldn't provide. And when that was the case, I'd pass that on to somebody else that could provide a solution. I'd hold my hands up and say, this is not my bag, but I know someone that can. I did also look at a lot of the times I did work on special applications, though, especially with the OEM companies that I dealt with when they were looking at a new project, selling a new machine tool. Nowadays, turnkey solutions have never been so important. So whether that was a chucking application or whether that would be a special application for a fifth axis machine or a horizontal machine, I'd work alongside the OEMs. We'd go into medical companies, aerospace companies, whatever the case may be, to look at a solution together, because the work holding is just as important as the machine tool. Holding that component is so important, and it's something that just cannot be overlooked. The way we used to supply solutions, they were all mechanical, by the way, so we didn't have the luxury of being able to sell hydraulic solutions, apart from when we used rotary tables or fourth or fifth axis rotary tables, etc. But predominantly, the majority of the work holding that we supplied was mechanical, and the only way we could kind of supply solutions is to be able to come up with a concept using, say, a 0-point faceplate, where we would design the pocket for which the component would fit into. Then we'd design clamps around it, or how are we going to present it to the spindle, how are we going to clamp on that feature, we can't hold on that bit because it's going to distort the part, so on and so forth. But I think that when you go to Brown Holmes, I think it takes what we did to a completely different level. I think that there's bespoke and turnkey packages that a lot of people can offer, But when you look at this really specialised fixturing, what we're talking about now for the aerospace industry, and I mean, you just look at some of the videos that we've produced for Brown Holmes on MTD TNC. It is an absolute work of art that I would imagine, Kev, correct me if I'm wrong, would take a hell of a long time, experience to be able to even start tackling some of them fixtures.
Yeah, absolutely right. It's a very bespoke and rare skill set required to be a master of work holding, quite definitely. And yeah, it's certainly an area that we have to concentrate within our business to bring young people through to follow in the footsteps of the likes of myself. But yeah, it's a bit of a dark art, and there's a lot of time needed and a lot of experience needs to be gathered to be able to professionally provide a competent solution within a budget.
Yeah, that's important because presumably, when we're looking at reasonable size batches here, we're looking at reducing cost per part. There's bespoke fixtures are quite obviously by their nature more expensive than vices, but we are looking at reducing cost per part here.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'll say it's not just in production times; it's that repeatability across a range of parts to make sure that they conform to drawings, and you get a consistent level of production from a Monday morning till a Friday night, and yeah, that's important, and that's where the investments come through.
Yeah,
Kev, sorry,
go on, Gio.
Sorry, Joe, for interrupting there, my friend. Kev, I've got a question for you. Obviously, Brown and Holmes have been going a very long time, and you've been there, most of your engineering, and you've been there most of your engineering career, I imagine. And as Joe mentioned earlier, we were actually done our apprenticeship at the same engineering college.
That's right.
But what from when I was an apprentice, Kev, things have evolved so significantly. I mean, if we step back in time and go into a workshop then to how it is now, it's completely different. Some of the fixtures that you're making now would have been impossible back then. You mentioned 3D printed and additive manufacturing. Have you started using that to start making fixtures and jigs?
Yes, quite definitely. Yeah, we invested them beginning of last year, Gio, as you know, and the intention really was to design towards those machines. We held off buying 3D printers, to be honest, because there wasn't initially when the printers hit the market, there wasn't the flexibility of in the type of materials you could print, and well, we were happy at the beginning of last year that the machines that we'd specified would complement what Brown and Holmes designs and makes. And yeah, we're using those 3D printers to manufacture parts on which we would normally and previously would have made conventionally. And the range of materials gives us a nice flexibility to do that also.
Yeah, so you've got, as I say, you've got an inordinate amount of technology on site in Tamworth, but something I'm eager to learn on. Obviously, you're a proud British business, but you do export a lot. How does your export business look?
The export business is holding firm, to be honest. Yeah, we've got a number of projects running at the moment. We've got a fairly big project coming towards its end in Scandinavia at the moment, which has gone really well for us. And we've got a big fixturing project going into India next month, we hope, if the lockdown is released. But there's certainly the fixtures and the work holding and the ZPS systems we're supplying there are coming towards completion at the moment. And we've got a very big project for China, which is due for delivery in August. So yeah, we're getting around. Yeah, we are. Little Tamworth company is delivering to some pretty big enterprises worldwide at the moment.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. And like I said at the beginning of this podcast, you're very well known for these bespoke fixtures. Equally, you do have a number of premium agencies, high quality equipment agencies. So I'd like to just run through a couple of those if possible. Let's start with the Mistbuster. The name kind of gives away the product, but maybe you can fill us in a little bit more.
Yes, as I said, we're trying to create something at Brown Holmes, which is normally a one-stop shop for the machine tool industry. And yeah, the mist buster, it's obviously a piece of equipment that we use on all our CNC and our enclosed CNC machines. And clean air is important, health and safety is big, and I think the profile is going to get even bigger going forward as regarding clean air environment and looking after your employees. So the mist buster product, yeah, it's a product which is very, very cost effective, very cheap to run, very cheap to maintain. There's no replacements other than cleaning the integral parts. But normally it takes the muck out of the coolant mist created by machining processes, puts the coolant back into the machine nice and clean, and the electrostatic reaction. I won't go into the science of that because probably not clever enough myself to go into the detail that really is there. But yeah, quite basically, pass electric charge through a wire. It attracts negative and positive reaction of electrons, and it takes the muck out of the mist, if you like. And the muck does gather on the wires within these units, and they're quite easily taken out and cleaned, which is the beauty of them, which is another down cost on the running of these units, which we've got a number set up on our machines, and they're running very, very well for us. And, yeah, there's clean air at Brown Holmes, guys. Yeah.
Sure, and I think that's key. Obviously, COVID-19, these don't stop COVID-19, but I think when everyone's back to work, people will look at cleaning up their environment and and treating their staff maybe better than they ever have done before, which is important. But if we talk, you've got some rotary tables, some indexes as well. That seems to be a fairly new addition.
Yes, we're proud to have been chosen as the UK's only agent supplier of Peisler rotary tables and palletising systems. Very, very impressive equipment, and complements the workholding range that we design and manufacture and the other products that we got. But yeah, we're very, very new to us that. We've done quite a bit of marketing with your help, which is going down very, very well. And we hope once the shackles are taken off us, we can get out there and start showing people the quality of the product and selling to some of our customers.
Yeah, so these Peisler rotary tables, what's your experience of them? What are they like in terms of accuracy? Where do you see them fitting in the marketplace?
I've never used one, Joe, so it'd be wrong of me to kind of give it a 100% opinion. But what I can see from the research that I've done on them, they look a very top end quality rotary table. I mean, when you look at rotary tables, there's a lot of elements that make a rotary table a good rotary table. The footprint of the rotary table, the rigidity, the torque, the speed, the repeatability, the accuracy. So these are all elements that need to be considered when purchasing a rotary table. And I think that the Peisler do meet all of that criteria, and I think that they will be a very successful product for Brown Holmes, not only to sell as a standalone product, but also to incorporate some of their specialist jigs and fixtures, trunnion assemblies, and to use them with that side of the business as well.
Yeah, I guess you would echo that, would you, Kev? It's the fact you can, when you're getting inquiries in, it kind of, you're going to design it into the fixture almost.
Exactly right, and Gio summed it up perfectly for me. But it is. I mean, Brown Holmes, we don't choose the cheapest product on the market, I'll admit that, but we tend to go for quality, reliability, and the ability to service and maintain these products from our base here in Tamworth. And that's the reason why we choose these products. It's all about quality and reliability out in the field for us.
Sure. A product group that gets me excited, and I don't say that lightly, is Techman. These robots. I see this being a massive market for you, not just you, anyone that sells a similar robot. I see these. I know you've got some advantages over the competition on the Techman robot, which we can go into. But what are your thoughts on automation? Simple automation as a whole.
Yeah, I think it's definitely the future. I think there's no holding it back. I think with the advances in technology that yeah, and even with a bit of the health and safety issues as regards facilities, being pressurised to make the safe environment for the human being, I think there's going to be added advantage there also to robots and cobots going forward. And but yeah, as I say, it's becoming a very competitive market. But yeah, we like, for the same reasons I've just said about Pfizer, we like the quality, the reliability of the Techman cobots that we run from here. They're very easy to program, and yeah, they look good as well.
Yeah, for sure. And Jay, if I come to you on the Techman, obviously they've got this, like this high resolution camera integrated into the robot. How do you see that as an advantage?
Oh, it's fantastic, Joe. I think it's got built-in vision. I think at the time when when MTD CNC first reported, when you first won the agency, Clever, I can recall us visiting your facility, and you'd set up a demo at Brown Holmes in Tamworth. And the built-in vision is brilliant because, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kev, but say if you were putting components on, say, a conveyor system, and you were presenting the components in different orientations, it'll be able to see, where the component is, and pick it up. So effectively, it's not got to be put in exactly the same place every time. It's got flexibility. It gives the robot some form of flexibility, and I think it can also kind of see different colors as well, so you can start color coding stuff as well. And when we come to when mentioning automation in general, I couldn't agree more. It is definitely 100% the future, and I think, albeit that we've been in an awful situation with COVID-19, I think it's really highlighted to the UK engineers and manufacturers how important automation is. The people that seem to be winning the ventilator parts are automating, running 24/7, unmanned, and unmanned is the word there, and seem to be getting the parts out of the door. And unfortunately, the people that haven't been investing in the latest technology and innovations have just not been able to compete or to produce them parts as efficiently as others. So yeah, a brilliant product which can be incorporated with the rest of your range, Kev.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's a sign of our business. It's been a major diversification over the last 5 years as Brown and Holmes move into design and manufacturing manual handling solutions. Joe. Um, Once again, that one-stop shop scenario, but basically not only holding parts on a machine or an assembly or whatever process. We also think about and work with our customers about how they're going to load the parts, and once again, health and safety comes into that. So it was a natural progression from our design and make of manual handling and lifting equipment to actually move on and provide customers with the option of a cobot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, as I say, I see it being 10 years' time, every machine shop will have a robot stroke cobot, if not multiples of it. I think you have to. We don't talk about automation too much. We've gone into it lots in previous podcasts, but if you don't automate, you're going to be in some serious, you're going to be in some serious trouble in years to come. That's my opinion. But if we look at Swiss chuckers, they're the pneumatic actuated diaphragm chucks. This is something I don't pretend to be an expert in. I know what they are, I know what they do, but perhaps you can give us the advantages.
Well, they're not just diaphragm chucks, Joe, but you're not far off, mate. But they do a range of different types of rotary work holding. But to sum up, they're basically very highly accurate repeatability, concentricity chucks. They're fully sealed. Their main advantages are to processes like gear grinding, where you've normally got, once again, a fairly difficult part to hold, but needs repeatability on concentricity. The sealed chuck, if it's grinding, generally uses coolant, fairly aggressive coolant as well. So yeah, it maintains its repeatability, its accuracy in quite harsh environments.
Yeah, no, for sure. And Gio, would you echo that?
Yeah, I think that when Kev mentioned gear manufacture, and what springs to mind now is, like this is a great analogy to explain to engineers why they do need these accurate work holding solutions. You look at some of the top machine tool manufacturers and sellers in the UK at the minute. They're really kind of concentrating on gear manufacturing and all-in-one machining. And I'll use Akuma as an example on this particular analogy that I'm going to make. But we've done a video with Richard Turner from NCMT, and he was saying that on the Akuma, it's got 3.6 million increments on the C-axis when power skiving the gears. So that level of accuracy within the machine tool and the B axis to synchronize the B and the C axis. If you had an inferior chuck on there that wasn't running true, what's the point of buying that machine? You need to have a work holding solution that complements the machine tool, or you're not going to be able to use that machine tool to its full capabilities. And that just kind of really is an example that I can give on that. So, it's imperative. Everything's application specific, but when you're doing them very, very accurate parts, you need to have the best work holding.
Yeah, well put. Yeah, very well put indeed. If we look, if we look at the Presmac Arnold, this is a company you're fairly well known for supplying. It's what I call a traditional machining vise. I know you will call it something different, but for the people that haven't seen it, what is it and where do you think it fits in the market?
It is a machine vice. You're absolutely right, Joe. There's various designs of that machine vice. They do very nice 5-axis machine vices. They do a number of vices where you can hold more than one part. They do bespoke jaws. They do tombstones, and cubes, which you can mount the vices on. But the principle of these vices, where they differ greatly to the traditional vices, which I was brought up smacking hell out of a handle with a hide hammer to try and make them clamp. There's an inherent accuracy of the design and the manufacture, which maintains the squareness of certainly the fixed jaw, yes, but the sliding jaw remains very accurate in its squareness. Clamping force and repeatability is adjustable through a torque adjustable handle on it, as opposed to a lead screw and nut and the old lever type handle. The principle of clamping and the clamping force comes from a very clever hydraulically actuator within the vices. Although it's a mechanical vice, it is principle is of an hydraulic actuator which actually clamps the part. And I say, just with the turn of a handle, repeatability, and the longevity of these vices is incredible, really.
Yeah, and that's why I say I think the big heavy duty vices aren't there. I know they do some smaller ones, but where you do need to make sure that component is held rigidly. Gio, are these vices you've come across before?
I've seen them, yes, at exhibitions and open houses being exhibited from Brown Holmes. I've never used one again, unfortunately, Kev. I'm sorry, but
surely they've got them at Nuneaton College, haven't they? With you, Kev?
Well, then we could maybe look at getting them there. They'll definitely come in handy there, because they definitely need some investment there into some of the latest technologies. I mean, Kev, they've still got. The old lathes that we used to work are still there, which is just unbelievable, really.
I bet that's had some crashes between you.
So I thought I broke the one.
I just want to make one point on what Kev mentioned, and you were mentioning about deflection on the jaws. Now, some people take that for granted. You can remember back in the day, you'd try and machine a round piece of bar into a square, and you had to try and tap it down onto the parallels to make sure it was down. It was so hard because you're fighting against the work holding, because the moving jaw wants to pull the part up. And to be able to get a set square on that billet once you've machined it square, if you'd have machined it square, you'd done a good job. So to kind of alleviate that kind of deflection in the jaws is massive, because effectively, in a lot of old work holding solutions from the 1960s, which are still used today, them kind of designs are still used today. What happens is you get deflection in that moving jaw and even the fixed jaw. So when you think you're holding the component on, say, 50 mil aside, the depth of the jaws, in fact, you're only holding the component on pinpoint location, because the jaws are tipping inwards. So you can imagine that's going to cause a hell of a lot of vibration. So being able to eradicate that jaw deflection, it also eradicates component vibration. And subsequently, then you can start running your machine tool at a lot of faster speeds, hitting the part a lot more aggressively if required. So, yeah, great. Another great product from Brown Holmes, Kev.
No, well said, Joe. I mean, to add to that, I mean, such as the clamping force and the squareness of the jaws, and in particular that sliding jaw, which is prone to wear. I mean, these jaws are all fully ground, and some of the parts that we've done ourselves here, where you're basically just holding on a couple of millimeters on that, so you can access probably 50, 60 millimeters depth cut on the part. It's very incredible, really. It's certainly been very advantageous to some of the parts we've machined ourselves here at Brown Holmes.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, well, guys, thank you. That's pretty much the end of the podcast. But Kev, if I can just finish on one thing. Obviously, we've gone through lots of technology and stuff. Two things. How do people find you? How do people learn more about your products? And is there anything new on the horizon?
And people find us. We've got a pretty powerful website. We spend a lot of time keeping fresh. www.brownandholmes.co.uk. All the contact information is on there. There's a contact page as well, which we will respond to within 24 hours. So yeah, if you go to that website, that you'll get through there. Or look at MTD's site. We're on there. You get all the information off that as well.
Fantastic. Well, guys, it's been a work holding masterclass. It's two Jedis of the industry, so I appreciate your time. And yeah, that's the end of this week's podcast, and we will see you soon.
Thanks, Joe. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to the MTD podcast. If you found value in this episode, please subscribe and leave a rating and review. Find more episodes on mtdcnc.com.